This chart tracks global workforce sentiment over a 2-year period, and it illustrates a rapid reversal in technological optimism. In early 2024, a plurality of workers believed artificial intelligence would do more good than harm. By early 2026, those lines intersected, with 44% of the workforce now concluding that these systems are a net negative for their economic and professional stability. That stress is most visible among early career professionals aged 18 to 34. In this demographic, anxiety regarding job security and task obsolescence is prompting nearly half of the workforce to consider altering their career plans entirely. This friction is the result of the productivity paradox. Artificial intelligence was introduced to the enterprise as a tool to alleviate labor. In practice, rapidly accelerating the generation of raw material like code, text, and data models increases the overall cognitive load placed on the human worker. A randomized controlled trial conducted by the research group MET tested this on experienced developers. The introduction of AI tools actually slowed them down. While generating prompts gave the illusion of forward momentum, the time required to review, verify, and strategically integrate the machine's output created a heavy cognitive bottleneck. The consequences of that bottleneck are measurable. Research indicates that 77% of AI users report a higher workload, and those who use the tools most frequently are twice as likely to experience severe burnout compared to their peers. Looking at this data visualization from a recent developer survey, we can see the mechanic of that stress. While 84% of professionals are actively using AI tools, only 29% actually trust the results those tools generate. This means the modern professional is forced to rely on a system they fundamentally do not trust. Managing an opaque, hyper-fast algorithmic subordinate does not save time. It keeps the human operator in a state of chronic hypervigilance. While the tens of thousands of corporate layoffs are a tangible threat, the deeper root of workforce anxiety is the destabilization of professional identity. Since the Industrial Revolution, we have been conditioned to measure our value through metrics of efficiency. We train professionals through decades of schooling to absorb data and optimize workflows, effectively treating human workers as biological algorithms. Artificial intelligence is the externalization of that specific analytical mind. It represents our collective logic and historical data, amplified by silicon and scaled to function at near instantaneous speeds. When an algorithm can generate a legal brief in a fraction of a second, it challenges the worker's sense of utility. If an individual's identity is anchored in their ability to produce mental output quickly, the arrival of a faster machine makes their primary role feel obsolete. That exposure triggers two distinct psychological reactions: doom and denial. Workers either prematurely accept defeat, assuming they possess no economic value, or they insist the technology is merely hype to shield themselves from the reality. Both reactions cause total paralysis. When utility is defined by information processing alone, the arrival of a more efficient system leaves the human worker without a clear function. We can see this collision between digital ambition and human reality playing out at a national scale in Hungary. This balance chart illustrates the tension in the nation's 2025 AI strategy. The government pursues massive GDP gains through automation, but domestic surveys indicate this will directly affect 900,000 jobs, 25% of the national workforce. Procuring hardware and training language models is an engineering problem. The more difficult challenge is mapping the precise boundaries of what these machines cannot do and moving the workforce into that territory. This logic model breaks down the dividing line. Algorithms excel in closed systems with defined rules. Human judgment operates in open systems, navigating unprecedented ambiguity. Furthermore, machines cannot possess a conscience. When a high-stakes decision fails, a human must bear the moral and financial consequences. Furthermore, trust is not a metric that can be programmed. It is a bond forged through shared vulnerability and physical presence. Software can simulate empathy, but it lacks the visceral understanding of what resonates with the human spirit in a specific cultural moment. To navigate an automated economy, the workforce must pivot. The value shifts from performing computable tasks to mastering the uncomputable realms of morality, taste, and consequence. Attempting to compete with the machine on speed is a losing strategy. It results in burnout and the mechanization of the professional experience. Navigating this transition requires a shift in how we define professional contribution, beginning with the separation of self-worth from the sheer volume of output. Organizations are beginning to see this anxiety as a signal. By framing AI as a challenge stressor, companies can reposition employees as critical auditors, giving them the agency to judge the algorithm's output rather than simply following its prompts. From that vantage point, individuals must heavily index on the skills silicon cannot replicate. This means focusing on the complexities of human emotion, fostering psychological safety within teams, and relying on strategic intuition to guide creative work. Algorithms optimize for specific metrics, but they lack the wisdom to understand the social context of those goals. This creates a permanent need for human oversight to ensure that efficiency does not come at the expense of communal or ethical health. The current disruption acts as a filter, removing tasks that are essentially mechanical and requiring workers to focus on the human-to-human interactions that remain outside the reach of probability models. The future of work is not defined by competing with algorithms on speed, but by mastering the high-stakes decisions and personal connections that a machine cannot simulate. In an automated world, the highest value remains with the human, who can determine what the data actually means.